So what's happening in Ukraine, whatever its scale, and it's not totally clear right now, but whatever it is, it's a tragedy because war always is a tragedy, and the closer you get to it, the more horrifying it seems. It's the ugliest thing that men do ever. Vladimir Putin started this war, so whatever the context of the decision that he made, he did it. He fired the first shots. He is to blame for what we're seeing tonight in Ukraine.
Okay, so that might seem at first glance to be, oh good. Whether he's finally woken up to the seriousness of what's happening, the stakes, or maybe he just realized that the international and domestic opposition, the horror to this war, maybe he misread that going in and thought, no, I feel like I've pretty much gotten people to not care about this, but people do care. So it seems as if he's taking it seriously, he's putting the blame where it should be, but I am not going to allow him to get away from his record. So here is an awesome compilation put together by Asin on Twitter of how he has talked about Putin and Russia specifically in the recent past.
But is there another reason we should side with Ukraine over Russia? Russia is a much more significant country by every measure. Why is it disloyal to side with Russia, but loyal to side with Ukraine? They're both foreign countries that don't care anything about the United States. China, which is the actual threat. Why would we take Ukraine's side? Why wouldn't we on Russia's side? I'm totally confused. So much. Has Putin ever called me a racist? Has he threatened to get me fired for disagreeing with him? Has he shipped every middle-class job in my town to Russia? I should say for the record, I'm totally opposed to these sanctions, and I don't think that we should be at war with Russia. And I think we should probably take the side of Russia if we have to choose between Russia and Ukraine. That is my view. But Ukraine and Russia. And I'm serious. Like, why do I tell you why? And why shouldn't I root for Russia, which I am?
Because those of us who are watching.
No one on this show is rooting for Putin or rooting for the Ukrainians for that matter. Always rooting for peace, for real.
Well, look, some of that is as recent as a couple days ago. Some of it goes back now a couple of years. He made very clear if there was a conflict between the two, he didn't want you to care because Putin's never ate your dog. And he knows which side he's rooting for. Now he's doing a little bit of a backpedal because he apparently did not sort of smooth the path towards this conflict and get everyone to check out. People are horrified as they should be. So I just think it's important for people to remember what he's been saying, especially over the past few weeks.
Tucker Carlson and people on the right deal in BS all the time. Nothing is real. All of their controversies are fake. They say that there is a war on whites in America. That is the biggest crock of crap that anyone can come up with. They say that trans rights ruin everybody in the world. That is their argument. It is so fake, it is so nonsense, it is so nothing. And the only thing that's real to them is ratings. So they'll do whatever they can in the fake world to get benefits in the real world for them. But every so often, their BS turns into something undeniably real. The examples of that are January 6th, and now his ridiculous rhetoric 2 days before this, when he was like, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, I don't believe it. I don't want to believe it, but Biden was right. Biden was right that Putin was planning to invade Ukraine. It's happened. Get over yourself, Tucker. Realize that you should be on the side of peace. And all the people that said that the person on the side of war was Vladimir Putin were right. They're correct. You have to acknowledge that. This is one of the rare times, Tucker, and we see him doing it in his BS way where he's like, oh, he did invade Ukraine. There's something wrong with that. But what I need everybody to know is he's just waiting it out. There's people who are waiting in makeshift bomb shelters in subway stations in Ukraine who are waiting out till the actual dust settles. This schmucko pants is sitting in his frickin' studio, kind of, sort of apologizing, but more reframing his previous statements disingenuously until he feels that the figurative dust is settled. And then at that point, he's gonna come back out and he's gonna say the same stupid crap again. He's going to be that propagandist for white supremacy and Christian nationalism again, as soon as it's safe in his estimation, which sadly will be sooner than it is in our estimation, because our estimation is proven to be right because it's bounded in reality and not his stupid fantasy world that he looks down on from his control room and wherever the hell he is that looks like a studio.
Yes. And yeah, look, it's impossible to say because he is basically he is, as he stated in court, he is this character who just yells things. It's easy to imagine and assume that a lot of what he says he doesn't really mean. Maybe when he told us over and over and over again that between Ukraine and Russia, he sides with Russia, maybe he was lying, maybe he was making it up, or maybe he was being honest, in which case you can hear the mea culpa now, but be ready. What is he going to be saying now that the invasion has happened and we know which side he says he's on? So what is he going to be saying? When it comes time to possibly let in refugees, what is he going to be saying? Stay tuned for that. And by the way, that wasn't all that he said yesterday. So here's a little bit more.
The question is, once we've established that, and it's obvious, how should the United States respond to what he has done? So within minutes of the outbreak of the war last night, the usual liars on television began leveraging this tragedy for partisan political gain. If you ever watched the aftermath of a school shooting, you're familiar with how they behave. It's contemptible. But we're going to ignore it tonight because now that shooting has started in Ukraine, it is entirely possible, no matter what they assure you, that Americans could wind up getting hurt in Eastern Europe. We should prevent that, but preventing it will require wisdom and farsightedness and emotional control, all of which are never in abundant supply in Washington, and especially now that everyone is justifiably upset. Again.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that you understand both parts of that, how fundamentally dishonest it is. So he says at the end, there's never any wisdom or emotion control in DC. He says that this is the sort of shallow thing he throws out every once in a while to seem as if he is anti-establishment, that he's some sort of populist. I always say that, it's never there. Oh, were you saying that under Donald Trump? Is that the commentary that you were saying? Were you telling people to view Trump's foreign policy cautiously? Were you highly critical of it? Stop lying. And then also saying there, oh, now they'll be coming out and using this war for partisan gain. Not him. He's an angel who floats over all of this. You all are partisans moving around in the mud. Almost immediately after saying that, he brought on a guest to say that climate change is a hoax. The Biden administration has declared war on fossil fuels. And Tucker said, so will there be enough pressure on the administration to take its boot off the throat of domestic energy production that maybe there is an effect on gas prices? So he tied our energy policy to the conflict and tried to use it for this. Anyway, that's my garbage person of the week. You all had a garbage person as well. 5 of them, in fact, 41,000 of you voted, and here it is. Your number 5 at 6% of the vote is Kyle Rittenhouse for his lawsuits against reporters and celebs. Sorry, that's number 4. Number 3 is Candace Owens. Man, she can't get any love. Only 3% of the vote over not allowing her nurse to wear a mask. Number 3 with 12% of the vote is Greg Abbott for labeling gender affirming care child abuse. Number 2, 14% of the vote is Marjorie Greene for calling for violence against trans people. But looks like you all agree with Johnny. 65% Tucker Carlson for his continued defense of Vladimir Putin. Thank you. You've never been more right.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.